Hey everyone, this is Devan, and today I will be reviewing Mafia 3. Mafia 3 was released in 2017 to poor critical reception. Reviewers criticized it for being buggy and repetitive, and longtime fans of the franchise were displeased with the new direction. Although many of the bugs have been solved, the game is not fully compatible with the PS5. I've experienced a crash about once every 8 hours during my playthrough, so if something like this is a deal breaker for you, I would avoid it for now, or play it on a different platform. Otherwise, it was a pretty smooth experience, minus the odd lighting glitch. I would say Mafia 3 is a very good, but flawed game. I'm going to go over the pros and cons and help you decide if this game is worth your time and money. The first great thing about this game is its map, New Bordeaux. Each location on the map is distinct and varied. There are rich neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, industrial areas, swamps, countrysides. It's very densely packed. The environment is well populated with NPCs, who do a good job of making the world feel lived in. There's also a lot of clutter that helps add detail to the map. The presentation of the game is also great. The graphics are very stylized, using soft colors and lighting. I've heard some people refer to these graphics as washed out, but I thought it suits the game well. The UI is one of my favorites. Everything is clean, clear, and easy to access. It both fits the style of the game and properly communicates the features of the game to the player. The music is also fantastic and tops off what's already a great presentation. Now for the gameplay, there are three major mechanics you will interact with: driving, shooting, and stealth, and they're all done very well. The cars don't go very fast, but they have this very weighty, satisfying driving model. The camera does a great job to capture your car as you power slide through corners, and the cars react well to the terrain. But the best part about the driving is the on-screen navigation. The way road signs pop up to guide you is a brilliant idea. It's better than having an arrow on the ground, and it's far better than having to look at a small mini-map on the corner of your screen. The navigation, combined with the detailed and varied map, means that it never feels like a chore to go from one objective to the next. The stealth gameplay is also great. It's simple but effective. Levels are thoughtfully designed for you to take down enemies silently. Many areas have multiple entry points and secret tunnels. It's also very satisfying to take down multiple enemies using slow motion. The AI can be very oblivious during these times, but I prefer that since it lowers some of the frustration when trying to stay silent. But the best of these mechanics is the gunplay. The play controls and movement are very tight and snappy. It's easy to get in and out of cover, vault over objects, and blind fire. The recoil and sound design for the guns feel great, and the reactions of the enemies after they're hit makes everything feel really satisfying. The shotgun is possibly the best shotgun in any open world game. It has so much range and power. Enemies go flying back after they're hit. This really is some of the best gunplay in an open world game. The AI is also very aggressive. Sure, they'll get behind cover, but the moment they find an opening, they will not hesitate to rush you. It really leads to some intense and dynamic firefights. So that's a lot that this game gets right. But what about the negatives? Why is there such a strong dislike for this game? The main criticism you'll hear is how repetitive it is, and that's largely based on its structure and mission design. The game requires you to take over rackets to liberate the districts in order to advance the story. The problem is that these racket takeovers really just involve you going to an enemy base, taking everyone out, and destroying something. Most people will be fine with this if the racket takeovers were optional, but you do have to complete at least a certain amount of them to unlock the next story mission. Although the repetition is a problem, I do think that it's overstated. The game has a good variety of interiors. You will infiltrate banks, warehouses, hotels, bars, and construction sites. These areas don't only look different, but they also play differently. There's a good amount of variation in terms of verticality and openness. You're also constantly unlocking new weapons and equipment to change up your approach. If anything, I think this game is less repetitive than the later Far Cry and Assassin's Creed games. No part of the map in Mafia 3 feels copied and pasted. Every enemy has a reason to be there, and gives the player more information on how these crime organizations operate. What would have helped is if these racket takedowns involved different objectives, like the convoy takedowns and chases from Watch Dogs 1. That would have made the racket takedowns more varied and exciting. Thankfully, the 3 DLCs are all story driven and linear. If you want to avoid open world fatigue, I would recommend doing these DLCs as you play through the main game. The worst part about this repetitive structure is its impact on the story. The story is well acted, well written, and well animated, but the pacing is really dragged down by this game's structure. Overall, I think the positives outweigh the negatives. As soon as things started to get stale, I would just swap out my loadout. Going in with a shotgun and a silenced pistol feels very different than going in with a rifle and an Uzi. There's also quite a few different brutal takedowns that are satisfying to pull off. Rolling up to an enemy hideout in a beautiful vintage muscle car and getting into these movie-like firefights never got tiring for me. If you enjoy open world action games, this one is well worth your time. If the developers can manage to combine the mechanics and open world of Mafia 3 with the story missions of Mafia Definitive Edition, I think they can create an amazing game for the next entry. Hopefully more players will go back and visit Mafia 3 since it has quite a lot to offer. So that concludes my review. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter at DavinOnTheMoon. Thank you for listening.